What's up, y'all? It's Jack, and I'm thrilled to introduce my brother and my engineer, Nickie Jon Pabon's episode of Pensado's Place. He's worked hard for this. I hope you enjoy it. Big shout out to Dave and Herb. Peace.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. We've got a special person that you can learn a lot from. He's intentional. He's culturally proficient and pure. He's hot as fire. You've seen the intro. He's a friend of ours. You should learn from him. Please welcome Nickie Jon Pabon.
I appreciate
What
that.
up, bro?
How you doing?
Good, man.
Dave.
Hey, what's up?
Good
What's
to see you.
Puerto Rico. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely. The thing that is so fascinating amongst a number of things is how you have stayed really inside the cultural specificity of your Puerto Rican background, and you're now dealing with the biggest pop music in the world with one of the biggest pop artists, just one of the biggest artists, which is Jack Harlow. How do you maintain your influence and have it still be heard and worked in such a big way? Is that a conscious effort?
Well, I think it would be difficult for me to stray too far away from it to begin with, because it's something that's born into me, with someone that has a Puerto Rican background like myself, coming from a family that is born and raised in Puerto Rico, cooks the food, listens to the music. That's deeper than just what I do in the studio. It's a lifestyle, and a lot of it has to do with with just feeling lively, feeling that separation within the instruments and feeling the energy coming from different instrumentalists or the vocalists. That's just something that I've grown up admiring, and I think subconsciously goes into every pice of work that I do.
Including the drip. Including the drip.
This is something slight, man. This is something slight.
I love it. I love it. And then you guys share Ybor City.
Yeah. He's a trader, but yeah.
So
we both from Ybor City.
The interesting part about being able to see somebody with, I mean, you've worked with a bunch of different artists, but obviously Jack's on fire, and there's a dependency that happens in a relationship, a creative relationship. There's stuff that Jack knows you can do and likely trust you with it. Are there things that you learn from him as well in terms of your gift?
Big time. I feel like him and I crossing paths was nothing short of a blessing and fate. I think one thing that he's really shown me is learn when to back off, learn when to impose your will. I think that art is something that should be emphasized, especially in the engineer role, because, so quick you can help enhance a vibe as you can destroy a vibe with the same second. So I'm conscious of that, and I feel like that comes from working with him so much and understanding, you don't have to do something to something just because you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Does it need it? Listen to it. Mm. And him and I have both been developing our ears together, but in a way kind of bouncing off of each other. Mm-hmm. He also understands what we just talked about the Latin influence and how lively everything sounds. He also knows that that's my background. There's a middle ground between, mm-hmm. Leaving it raw and enhancing it the way that we choose to. So yeah, I feel it.
Amazing.
Yeah, when I was listening to the new album, it felt like, I don't know how to say it, but we're in a time of simplicity now. We're not trying to have 8,000 backgrounds. We're not trying to have 200 bass drums. We want simplicity in our music now. And that simplicity can backfire on an artist, but with him, he solved it by just bringing in some Kentucky, and the sound is not polished. It's what it should be, real.
Right.
So there was a question there somewhere.
No, but you worded it perfectly, and I think that's what was so important for him to maintain, was that authenticity. And ultimately relying on the producers to come in and design a soundscape that he wanted to hop on, trust us to get the sonics all the way right. And as far as the lyrics and content is concerned, he has that super down pat, and we trust him a lot. I know I do as well. And when he says he has something on his chest or he wants to get something off, it's gonna be something worthy of capturing, and I'm very, very lucky to be in that position with him.
You're in the early days. What triggered Nickie to want to go do this? Was the family supportive? Did you just started messing around with music, love music? When did you know?
Yeah, well, thankfully my family, you know, shout out to mom, dad, and sis, they're super supportive, and I have a background in performing. Actually,
Really?
I would love to sing. I can hold a tune if you ask me.
Oh, I love it.
And that's really where I got my start, because when I first started engineering, the purpose was really to learn how to record myself and to get ideas out. And as I was going to school and gathered my network, I saw that I just had an incredible passion for collaboration, bringing the things that I've learned as an artist and as a musician into the room and help inspire, you know, great performances in that sense. And me having my background in performing helps out, you know, because now I know what things I personally would have loved an engineer to do, or what things I wouldn't really enjoy if I was recording and somebody was recording me. So I'm mindful of that always as well.
That explains just an observation that I would make. Nickie recently did NAMM with us, and as a mentor, and watching people line up to get questions answered from him was just inspiring. But as we've gotten to know you, and now I understand it better, between your engineering stuff and you're assisting and kind of with other artists, but then you as a performer and what you see and observe, what I've noticed, particularly for somebody on the rise, is that it's very important for you to give back. Sometimes you want to teach and make sure people know things. You know, you're looking to build brands that can help other people and build community. And I think that comes when you're more than one thing. You know, like there's boxes to click. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in the information that we acquire, you know, how important it is to pass it on. And so I'm obviously in the middle of my career and chasing my ambition and fulfilling, you know, whatever God has for me. But I know that my role is ultimately to help inspire an army of people that doesn't end with just me, a la Pensado. And you know, now that I get that opportunity to have the platform, I just want to, you know, take advantage of it the best way. NAMM was that for me, was being able to get in front of people and, you know, look them in the eyes, and that time that I have with them is that time, and nobody will take that away, and I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of my career.
And we have full intention of wearing you out with that stuff. We really have you do
I'm ready for it.
Stuff.
I'm
Absolutely.
ready for it.
Yeah, let's start with this one. When you first were in the presence of him, how did you feel? Because you describe it as being immediately knowing that this guy could go to the #1 artist in the world. You know what I'm saying? So how did you take that and expand it to what we see now? I mean, good grief.
Yeah, thank you, man. I think it's been a wonderful journey. What you said was something that I actually told him the very first day that we got together. I just said, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do for you in your career, but in all honesty, you have the makings of a #1 artist in the world. And mind you, this is 5 years ago, but it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. You know, I say that all the time.
Even through a pair of speakers, you can feel it.
Right, exactly. And in this case, you know, I was able to catch a show of his early on before I started working with him, and just kind of understood, okay, this guy's the real deal, and he's having fun doing it. His message is the right one. So before me knowing what I was going to do for him in his career, I knew, yeah, that this is probably where he's heading. He's going to the top.
Did he have a technique for trying to find features for his work? Does he just take anybody, or does he have, he looks at him and wants, you know, tries to get a good person?
Yeah, well,
So it seems like what he's doing is the good people, you know?
Yeah, I think there's seasons of that, you know, and we're in a current season where he wants to really develop a personal relationship, I feel like, as anybody would want to, before the collaborative effort, just because you would like to think that it's not a cash grab or just a popularity contest, that it's really two artists that, you know, have found success, but they can look at each other and say, I love what you do. What if we make something that I wouldn't make on my own or you wouldn't make on your own, but together.
Yeah.
And that as a foundation, to me, is where the best collaboration happens, at least from what I've been able to witness myself.
I think one of the things when somebody's so closely identified with somebody is the rest of their career can go by. There's other folks you worked with, right? Like who? Like,
man, I've had the privilege to work with a lot of artists. I started working at Mean Street Studios in Atlanta, which is DJ Drama, Don Cannon, like G Eazy. Their studio that at the time they shared with Atlantic Records. And man, there's so much traffic that came through there. I was able to work with everybody, man. Cardi B, Playboy Cardi, DMX came through the studio before his passing, and that was really like my boot camp into what I do now, is just being thrown into the fire. I don't love to name drop, but I do think that was a big part of getting my workflow and my consistency to what it is now with the amount of time that I dedicate to Jack. I bring all of those experiences with me and I take them.
and I think that the audience should understand that you're selected to do that. You can go in and mess it up and be deselected. You know, when somebody says you can be in the studio with this kind, with Cardi B or Playboy Cardi or DMX or whatever, they're saying, okay, he's got it. Let's give it a shot. And then you got to go in and deliver. So you have to be ready. That's the other part. That's the part that I sometimes think is a sports correlation. You don't know when you're going to be called off the bench, but when you do, hit the jumper or do what you need to do. That's part of being ready, right? You got to stay ready and be ready for when the opportunity comes up, and then it leads to things. You know, do you think at this stage of the game, with the background and what you're currently doing, is there a Nickie Jon creative process? Is there things that are signature to you that you do that nobody else does? Or is it just depending on what music's, you know, what you're working on?
Yeah, music is an extension of life to me. So, you know, the things that I take with me to the studio are really my own personal experiences, you know, and an artist as well, and what they write about. That's kind of the foundation. And with me, I know what it's like to be in front of a stage and witnessing an amazing performer that has an amazing band. Yeah. And so you'd like to think that when you work on something, you get it closer to it feeling like, wow, at least me personally, that's my signature, is that I just wanted to feel like, man, this is happening in front of me. There's no walls or nothing in the middle of me in the performance. It's there, it's in front of me. And that goes back to the Latin roots of just waking up and there being music and dancing. It's just in me. So I feel like that's part of my process, is bringing my real life into what I do.
And it shows in the music. I think when you listen to music that you've worked on, there is the part that is musical. There's a part that's visceral. There's a thing that I feel a certain way when I hear those records, and like, I want to go back and feel that feeling again. You know, whether I can define what it is, it's been touched, and I need to go back and scratch that itch over and over. It's really special, man. It's really special and unique.
Let's go back to the psychiatry couch.
I'm afraid to know where this is going.
Name a song that fully describes your soul. Mine is Beautiful by Christina.
Oh, it could be on any song ever, not just one that I've worked on. One that describes my soul.
Yeah.
I'm going to say shout out.
Encapsulate everything that is you in that song when you hear it and you cry and you love it. And you know what I'm saying?
I do. I think the one that comes to my mind right now, and, you know, you could take me for a mama's boy if you want to, you know, I don't mind, but a song for Mama by Boys to Men.
Oh, I love it.
Maybe it's one of my mixes.
Really?
Yeah.
You mixed that?
No, I don't know what it was.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Hold on. Sam, did I mix anything?
You didn't do a lot of Boys to Men.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's a song, and it's it's a song about their mom.
That's a great song.
It's a really
Great song.
Mm-hmm. But I also think that is emblematic of being able to touch the stuff that ends up, excuse me, becoming visceral. Like if you can get to that part that makes you feel that way about whomever, and then you can put that into something, that's the human stuff.
Do you have one, Herb?
Do I have one? Wow. Weirdly, the song that I've kind of carried with me for a long time is the live version of Sun Goddess between Earth, Wind, and Fire and Ramsey Lewis.
Wow.
And there's so much that goes on in that song where it takes you to and then brings you back and drops you off. That journey for me is I can just get lost and be. And
that's
then
a good one. That's a good one.
I had the ultimate pleasure of working with Maurice White, which led to Ramsey Lewis, who just passed not long ago, wanting me to manage him. So I got to talk to them about that experience.
Wow.
So there's an Earth, Wind, and Fire version. And then there's Ramsey and then live. And man, it's kind of like what you said. As a live performer, you start someplace and they take you with them. And before you know it, you're rolling. Like you've given yourself up to it. And as they take you wherever you go, you just trust you're gonna come back. And that ride has never not been good. Never not been good. So there's a ton of other things that fit emotions. Yeah. Emotions of love or pain or whatever. But I believe, and I see it in Nikki too, and Dave, that's how you mix. A lot of people don't understand that you need to be able to touch those core things.
Absolutely.
Don't feel like that's you being manly or womanly. Like being open enough to get to that, not shutting it out. Like don't loke up on it and don't want to show yourself because you're limiting your creativity. You're limiting that sensitivity that makes music special.
I think as a society, we're going that way to be a little more like that. It feels like, I don't know.
Well, I think there's, and I think he's an example of it. When you think about all the talent that we have watched in the past and that now we're part of, and then somebody like you breaks through, or somebody like Jack breaks through, or when Dave broke through, or when I broke through, somehow, some way, that thing that's unique gets through all that stuff. Because it's a mountain of stuff. And all of a sudden people are going, wait, you touched me. And I think sometimes I talk about the honor of being a steward of pop culture, because somebody's saying, I trust you with taste. And the idea that people in the public say, Nikki, take me. It's just this huge responsibility. Dave, in the years that Dave were mixing records for me, and these are artists who are really creative people, they just turned them over to Dave and said, I need Dave to do Dave to it. And they would get out of the way. That's an acknowledgement that somebody's going to add something that's going to enhance what I do. Or if people come to me for advice or questions, or like Brennan does or whatever, I'm getting to pass something along where he can utilize a tool to break through all that clutter. That's why you want to do the business that we're doing, is the opportunity to leave a mark, but you got to have a standard that you want to go for. You got to be able to touch that thing inside. And it's an opportunity. I mean, you're changing the world, man. You're not just, making hit records for Jack or with Jack. You're changing the world. There are kids that are getting inspired by your work.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you, Herb. If you can't cry, you can't put emotion in a song. And so men are not supposed to cry,
Right.
Well, I failed then, because I cried a Geico commercial. I mean, like, until the chameleon. Oh, he's just like But I was taught that's a position of strength. Like the fact that you tapped it doesn't mean you're weak. It means that you get that extra information that a lot of people refuse to go find out. And it has been a very instrumental thing in my career, being empathetic to another human or what they're feeling and being able to be there. It makes people want to talk to you and say, because you understand, I can trust you. You handle that really correctly. And I won't name names, but it's some of the most iconic, big folks in our business who they need somebody to talk to. Like, well, I need somebody to talk to. So I think, to your point, when we hear music that Nickie does and you see the artists that want to work with him, or if you hear a Jack Harlow record, you're like, why am I going back to this? Because this shit is touching me in ways that, between the music and the fact that it feels simple even though it's not, and between what he's saying and how he's saying it, and it's just, that's the beauty of what is so exciting about what we do for a living. And then last thing, sorry to do a soliloquy, but when you take all the changes that are happening, gaming and AI and other kinds of stuff, somebody said to me, I was on the AI panel, they said, well, computers can't cry. I was like, really interesting. Doesn't mean that we don't have to think about what AI can do, but when you remember that, that's a differentiator.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And so it's an exciting time to be where we are with all these changes, and we get to figure out how to do it with all the changes, So
very, very good, very exciting time. Good stuff, Herb. Good stuff.
We happen to be doing this interview at a creator content campus called Fab Factory, and you can tell by the background. And we've all talked about this. Dave has worked out of here. I happened to name it years ago, which is crazy, but the reason you see what you see is because they want creative people to be inspired. So when they come out from working, it's like, I want to go kill them. You know what I'm saying? It's a very beautiful spot. Amazing spot. Nickie's going to be doing some stuff here, which lends to this before we get to Batter's Box. The other thing I so appreciate about where you are already is that you're working on things and ways to give back. Whether it's a seminar series or other kinds of things, you are planning Nickie Jon past just mixing records. Is that fair to say?
Of course. There's something natural in me to teach. I don't know where it comes from, but it's there, and I want to embrace it, and I want to show people what I've picked up is the art of recording, what the art of capturing a performance is. There's only so many plugins and so many things that technically we can do. Ultimately, it's the decisions that you make in your brain of how you want to take certain things wherever. And I want to be a catalyst in people that say, I can approach it 17 different ways, but I get a lot of satisfaction with bringing what I've learned and seeing people grow, and I'm gonna definitely keep doing that for the rest of my career.
The other thing too, I want to see what you say as well. You seem to have a really good balance between who Nickie is and what Nickie wants to do, and it's not. Is there gear that helps you get to that, or things that you utilize that you depend on to do the Nickie thing? What kind of stuff do you like using?
Yeah, I would say that up until recently, I thought that an engineer's gear or the room that they had or the speakers were their most valuable asset. And now after studying, I grew up, listening to a lot of Leslie Brathwaite mixes and Dave Pensado mixes, and I've gotten a chance to sit next to them, and especially Leslie, and ask him about his approach. And there's a minimalism to that approach that doesn't take anything away from his talent, but just it accentuates how much he knows when to leave stuff alone, when to come in and have a standard for your own work. So yeah, what was the question?
Just that your relationship with gear doesn't get in the way of where you're going, but there's things that you can do. I mean, Leslie mixed Happy in his car.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what I've been, more than aiming to make purchases and acquire gear. I've been more focused on digesting a lot of music, watching interviews, filling myself with purpose. So that when the time does come and I have an access to certain gear or whatever, I'll know that it doesn't make me.
Right.
Just because I don't have that certain piece of gear doesn't mean that the mix is not going to come out the best. Like, with whatever tools we have, we need to make it work. And that's where my mind has been at, is relying more on myself, my heart, my ears, my soul.
It's working, dude.
Thank you.
It is absolutely working. So beyond all the information, all the hits, all the other stuff, we got a sports freak. He and I did a bunch of stuff on hoops. He and Dave did a bunch of stuff on sports. So now it's sporting time. So Dave, are you ready to tee up batter's box?
I am.
Fire away.
Auto-tune.
Auto-tune. Shout out to Tizio, recording it through an aux.
Very good.
Yeah, well, let me toss something in.
Okay.
I've said this 1,000 times, but it seems right now it's more right than wrong. I think it's better to sound new than sound good, and this is in reference to Jack, because when I first heard his work, it sounded new to me, and I was a little jealous, and now I like him, you know. But it took me a minute to understand that what I said, I wasn't living by that. It's hard to be new. You know what I'm saying?
You know where, to your point, let me just add to that. You know where I really sort of fell in love with Jack Harlow was when he was on with LeBron on what's this show called? The Shop. He was on The Shop with LeBron, and his conversation about his music and the other things that he was going through, I was like, I got to go back and listen to this cat. Now, he's from Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. I'm actually a Kentucky colonel, which is crazy. So I'm also really proud of it. And shout out to him. He also looks like he's going to be a monster of an actor. I mean, right?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. We're in the early stages of what's looking to be a very successful career. So congrats to my bro.
Yeah, man. And you're going to be on that music as well too. All right, let's get to some sports. Dave, batter's box, you're up. Fire away, sir.
Okay. We're both from Ybor City.
We are.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean shit.
I will not take it calm.
Please let me win just one.
Don't.
I'll try to keep it easy.
Lyrics.
Storytelling.
Subs.
Deceiving.
Saturation.
Necessary.
Vocals.
Clarity.
808s.
Feel and culture.
I was going to give you 10, but you're moving so fast, I'm going to just keep going. Stereo bus.
Very light.
Major or minor?
Minor.
Minor.
But I feel like when I become a parent, that'll switch to major.
That's a great observation.
Okay, remember, this is my thing.
All right.
Harmony.
The fingerprint of sound.
Showing off now. Loops. You remember loops, right?
Loops.
Loops.
How you mean? Do I remember loops?
Like the first album.
Oh yeah. Loops. There's actually a big generation of loop makers that are coming up around this time that I really respect, and they're part of the process.
Good answer. Reverb.
Seventh Heaven, till I get my hands on my broadcasting.
Good call. Tubes or tape?
I'm gonna go Today with the Warmth of the Tubes.
What is the one song that you had the cheapest piece of gear you've ever used in that song and it came out great?
The cheapest piece of gear that I used on a song and it came out great. I think we used some remote controls, like those right there, as like a layer of a snare. We wanted like a really high ticky part of the snare. So we just grabbed 2 remote controls, recorded on an iPhone, and blended that into one of the drum sounds, and it actually did the thing.
You showing off. I thought we had an agreement that you'd let me win just one of these damn things.
Sorry, Dave. I had to go full throttle one time.
I mean, he knocked the shit out the park. I just shut up. Like it was like game 6.
I will say everything I know comes from you. So
don't put that pressure on me.
A, You got it anyway. So you got it anyway.
Well, I can help you out. I mean, we started this off in a way that maybe I could train you in that particular area if you remember where we started.
Yeah. Oh. Maybe we don't need to go back there. Maybe we do, but maybe we don't.
Well, in wrapping up, let's say this, that if you have aspirations, if you have desire, it doesn't matter what gender, it's really about you understanding yourself and knowing the bar that you want to hit. And when you are that self-contained and that intentional, Nickie's intentional. And so I'm not surprised that if somebody found him and said, come go with me. And the thing of it is, like happened with Dave and has happened with me in my career, we stepped up when it was time. And remember, you're never failing. You're either winning or learning. And if you learn along the way, even when it goes wrong, you'll get back to winning. Nickie Jon Pabon is an absolute example of that. He is our friend. You're going to see a lot more of him. We're proud of you, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Brother. Amen.
Super proud
Thank you,
of
Dave. Appreciate you.
And we'll be back next week. See ya.